Well, good evening, everybody. Here I am at Truro Methodist. We've just done communion service, and so I thought I would use this organ to do the hymns this week. I needed to record them because when this is going out, I'm at another meeting. So I thought, well, let's have the pipe organ here at TMC, and let's use that. So I'll let you into a little secret. I recorded all the hymns. I thought, that's fine. And then I discovered I hadn't pushed the record button. So I have a practice of all the hymns, and I'll play them again. I'm going to start out with 308, which is a request from Colin from 3 Milestone. Usually he gives me a little information about composer and author. This time there isn't much to report about Alfred Henry Vine and John Bacchus Dykes we've mentioned before. So here we go with O Breath of God, Breathe on Us Now. Moving on to 381. I'll say it's getting reacquainted with an old friend, and not exactly remembering what to do, but it's so different to play a real organ when you've got stops which you can pull out, draw stops. somebody was explaining the other day about draw stops, and why draw stop? Well, you draw the stops to make a sound. So I've drawn all the stops on the pedal division. And then to stop the sound, you push them off. So pulling them gives you sound. Pushing them all in stops the sound. So what I have to do at home on the electronic is to push the buttons, and a lot of the time I do tend to use the presets. We've got presets here, much more than I've got set up at home. Could probably have more at home, but I haven't set them up, but this has got quite a lot already set up. So it's a chance to demonstrate perhaps some of the sounds which we've got here. 381, it's quite a bold hymn. Forth in thy name, O Lord, I go. So I'll do a playover, such as it is, on what we call full swell. So that's basically all the stops in the swell which make a difference. I hope you can see. I don't know if you can, but anyway, if I push 8 here, it gives me all the stops that make a difference on the swell division. And these are so quiet that you don't actually notice that they're on or off, but everything else makes a difference. Anyway, so I'm going to start on what we call full swell, and give you the idea of some of the colours that we've got. Forth in thy name, O Lord, I go. The tune Song 34, Angel's Song, the melody based by Orlando Gibbons. Gibbons is a member of that great flowering school of music in the 16th century with Ty and Tallis. Lots of people writing at that particular time. The words, of course, by Charles Wesley. So moving on to 404. God who holds the nations in the hollow of his hand. Lovely words by Fred Pratt Green. A great tune by Walford Davis. Remember I spoke about Walford Davis some time back, and arranged by John Wilson, who contributed a lot to hymns and psalms, a book I'm using this evening, or actually it's dinner time on Wednesday, but never mind. God who holds the nations in the hollow of his hand. And towards the end, you'll get to hear one of the loudest stops on the whole instrument. So, here we go. just love those words. He reminds us every sunrise that the world is ours on lease. Wonderful. I thought whilst I was here at TMC I would play, I don't think I've played yet, perhaps I have, yes, I think I probably have. Guide me, O thou great Jehovah. So, and I'll add just a little bit at the end so that the basses who've got that wonderful bass line at the end of this hymn can really sing away. Words and music by Welshman, I think. John Hughes wrote the tune, Cwm Rhondda, William Williams the words. Guide me, O thou great Jehovah. And a little bit of a play over on our wonderful great trumpet. When I say great trumpet, it belongs to the Great Division, but it's also available on the choir. So we can solo tunes out. Sing to that. That's what we call in the trade full organ. I suppose it would have gone a little bit louder, but that's enough. Don't need any more than that really for accompanying hymn singing. We did measure the decibel output at one stage, so that's full organ with everything going, all the stops. When it says pull out all the stops, well, we do pull out near enough all the stops. But there are some stops which don't make a lot of difference because they're so quiet. So within the ensemble, they don't make their presence felt. So we don't use them all of the time. Something slightly different mood. A Scottish paraphrase of Isaiah 26 verses 1 to 4. set, would you believe, to an Irish melody. And the tune is actually called Irish. So, nice marriage of Scotland and Ireland. So let's see if we can conjure up a slightly different bit of a sound. We've got all sorts of colours here. So let's see what we can do. Wonderful words too, and you might notice I can push one button there which is called a general cancel, and it takes all the stops off, so it saves me having to go just push one button and they all go off. When I start teaching pupils and talk to people about playing the organ, there's quite a lot to think about, and there's really sort of two parts which have sort of subdivisions, I suppose you could say, but the two main things are obviously developing a technique to play the keyboards, and they don't respond like a piano does. They are not what we call touch sensitive. It doesn't matter how hard you hit them, makes no difference. They will not play loud or soft like a piano, and there is no sustain pedal, so you can't to join things up. So you have to learn a technique of what we call playing legato. If I play this as you might play it at the piano, it's a bit sort legato, and there's various ways of doing that, joining the notes up and making it smooth. So almost that one note is going down as the next is coming up. And the altos in this hymn, 455, their first three notes are. So when I actually play them on the organ, I don't repeat them. So there's a line of sound going on all the way through, where there are the same repeated notes. I don't repeat them. Not everybody subscribes to that school of thought. The Church's one foundation, which I remember it's an example I picked upon, and I said, notes, because the first are all the same, so I will go. So repeat the outsides and join the middle up. Anyway, so it's I'll get back to these two things. One is getting the notes down and learning various techniques. And not only legato, but you don't play staccato, but you play detache, which is almost like a half staccato. Staccato on the organ doesn't sort of work. You have to do things detache. And you can make smudges as well. That's the other thing, it's very unforgiving, but keeping it all detached. Mr. Vidor in his toccata, he goes. The first two notes are meant to be smooth, and then the rest are meant to be legato. Detache. And so on. Anyway, we digress, and getting accents and all those sorts of. So you have to learn the technique of how to put the notes down and get them accurate, of course. And then the second thing to playing the organ, the other big part, is managing it. Organ management. On an organ this size, we've got lots of aids to help to get the stops out, rather than having to take your hands off the keyboard and reaching for something. So it can be programmed up and set up. And I can do an almost sort of seamless crescendo with the way that this organ has been I've set it up by the touch of a button. Or a toe pedal, as we call it in the trade. I can bring the stops on gently. it's knowing what stops to select and being able to do things sort of at the right time to build a crescendo, and I can do all that by pressing a toe piston, or a thumb piston actually. Just happen to do it with my foot then. And I can come backwards as well, plus going up, forward, minus going backwards. Got a toe piston for that as well. So management of the instrument is part of the job of being an organist, and choosing your colours and balancing things. So in some respects it's you could like it to an artist choosing his colours, or a cook selecting ingredients for a meal. So if you want your meat and potatoes, then you select what we call our diapasons. If we want a little souffle, something that's sort of a bit foreboding, or if you wanted to do something spectacular, so that's the other thing that you have to learn, as well as getting the notes down in the... I think I'll have to go home and practice that. Get the notes in the right order, choosing your stops, and managing the instrument. Anyway, on to our last hymn, Christ is the World's Light. Great words by Fred Pratt Green. And a tune from the Paris Antiphona, arranged by John Wilson, who has been a great contributor to hymns and psalms. Right, let's get on and play our final hymn for tonight. I'm going to... we have a stop on this organ called the gamba, a viol de gamba. It's a string stop. It's quite piquant. And I quite like it with his subs and supers. It makes quite a nice little sound. We'll add one or two other little bits to that and add it. And here we play over on that, I think. We'll add the swallow bow as well, which is another... Actually, it's a stop which came from Penzance in the rebuild from Paul Church, Penzance. Now, be careful about this. I think I've got the right church, redundant church there, and it was added to this instrument in 2009. Here we go. Oh, there you are. A few hymns played on the organ of Truro Methodist Church. I know I'm biased, but I think it's one of the best around. The Methodist Church organs I've played over the years. I've grown to love it, and grateful that the church has seen fit to keep it in a good state of repair. So that's great. Anyway, I will be back on Sunday. Keep your requests coming so I can play those hymns that you like. May have played some that perhaps you haven't heard before today, so it's always good to ring the changes of it, isn't it? Anyway, take care, stay safe, and God bless. Organists have this little ritual, making sure everything's switched off, not working. So I pull a few stops on, play a few notes, and it's not working. Nothing's happening. The lights have gone out. Nothing's happening.